Chapter 4: Environmental Legislation in Algeria. For point 1, Background and Development. Algeria's dedication to sustainable development has led to modifications in the country's environmental laws. Over the years, it has become clearer how important it is for environmental preservation, social improvement, and economic advancement to work together. The early post-independence era established the groundwork, emphasizing the need for a legislative framework that takes Algeria's unique environmental problems into account. Algeria's involvement in international environmental conferences in the 1970s demonstrates the development of early environmental consciousness. The ensuing legislative developments demonstrated the nation's dedication to addressing environmental challenges on a worldwide scale. For point 2, Context of environmental legislation in Algeria. Among the difficulties Algeria faces are pollution, water shortages, and desertification. The country's Saharan area is especially vulnerable to the consequences of global warming. The legal system in Algeria recognizes these difficulties and seeks to include environmental factors in areas like urban planning, agriculture, and industry. Including environmental impact evaluations in development projects is one example of this strategy. Legislation in Algeria mandates extensive evaluations to guarantee that possible environmental effects are thoroughly considered and minimized. For point 3, Historical development of environmental legislation in Algeria. In the 1970s, Algeria established the Ministry of Environment and Nature Protection. This crucial move represented the country's early acknowledgement of environmental preservation. A complete legal framework was made possible by the legislative developments that followed the founding of this agency. 53. In 1983, the nation ratified the Ramsar Convention, which guaranteed the preservation of wetlands. This worldwide commitment led to the 1987 enactment of the Law on Nature Protection and Wetland Management. This legislation showed Algeria's dedication to protecting important natural zones. The 1993 adoption of the Environmental Protection Law was a major turning point in Algeria's environmental laws. The basic legislation included everything from preventing pollution to protecting the resources of nature, outlining the core ideas and objectives for environmental preservation. Following the Environmental Protection Law, Algeria established further laws addressing certain environmental issues. Following this, legislation pertaining to waste management, biodiversity conservation, and water preservation were passed, demonstrating a dedication to tackling the many issues raised by Algeria's distinct environmental situation. Over the past few decades, environmental preservation has been increasingly important in Algeria. The main goals of efforts have been the preservation of natural areas, biodiversity, and efficient waste management. Algeria's environmental problems, such as air and water pollution, soil erosion, and contamination of the land, have sparked a growing awareness of the urgent need to conserve the environment. Algeria's legislative path emphasizes the country's proactive attitude to environmental concerns, from the establishment of specialized ministries to the adoption of international treaties, and the enactment of extensive environmental legislation. This changing legal framework reflects international efforts toward a future that is more resilient and environmentally conscientious. For point 4, Current regulatory framework for the environment in Algeria. Algeria has several laws and ordinances that deal with environmental concerns. The most important of these is the Environmental Protection Law, which was passed in 2002 and serves as Algeria's main environmental protection legislation. This statute outlines the preservation of biodiversity, ponds, soils, and air quality. 54. The Environmental Protection Law of 2002 acts as a thorough guide, defining objectives and guiding principles across a range of environmental protection domains. It is an embodiment of Algeria's dedication to an all-encompassing strategy. In addition to the Environmental Protection Law, several laws have been passed to handle certain environmental issues. In order to guarantee ecologically friendly practices, trash creation, handling, and disposal are governed by the Trash Management Law. The Water Law places a strong emphasis on maintaining quality and providing fair access for the sustainable management of water resources. Algerian authorities have established policies, and strategic plans to protect the environment and promote environmentally sustainable development, going beyond the requirements of existing laws. These strategic efforts demonstrate a commitment to striking a balance between ecological integrity and economic progress. Algeria has demonstrated its commitment to environmental preservation through the implementation of strong regulations that are supplemented with tactical tactics and plans. The regulatory system reflects a sophisticated knowledge of the complex interplay between human activity and the environment. With this diverse approach, it is possible to create a resilient and sustainable ecosystem for coming generations. For point 5, governmental structures for environmental management in Algeria. For point 5.1, governmental bodies responsible for environmental management in Algeria. The Ministry of Environment and Renewable Energies is in charge of environmental management. It guarantees the incorporation of environmental factors into national development strategies. One example is the establishment of the National Agency for the Management of Oases and the fight against desertification. This agency's concentration on desertification management reflects a deliberate government response to particular environmental issues. 55. For point 5.2, local authorities. Environmental regulations are implemented by local organizations such as municipal governments. Their participation guarantees that national goals are in line with local requirements, promoting a more focused and efficient approach to environmental governance. To protect environmentally sensitive areas, for example, local governments may implement land use rules. This illustrates how regional perspectives are taken into account when making environmental decisions. For point 5.3, government agencies. Governmental organizations are in charge of particular facets of environmental management. Algeria's primary governmental entities responsible for environmental control include National Waste Agency and the National Trash Agency is responsible of managing solid trash and encouraging environmentally friendly behavior. It's essential for creating waste management strategies that align with environmentally beneficial principles. National Agency for Hydraulic Resources, ANRH. Overseeing the management of water resources and preventing water pollution is the National Agency for Hydraulic Resources. Creating and executing policies to guarantee the sustainable use and preservation of water resources is part of the agency's mandate. 56. National Agency for National Parks, ANNP. The goal of the Algerian National Agency for National Parks, ANNP, is to conserve and manage the nation's protected areas. Within the defined zones, it seeks to protect both ecological stability and variety. National Agency for Geology and Mining Control, ANGCM. The National Agency for Geology and Mining Control, ANGCM, is in charge of controlling mineral resources and supervising mining activities to guarantee that these resources are exploited responsibly and sustainably. Examples of environmental projects led by government agencies in Algeria include Bay of Algiers Depollution Project, led by the National Agency for Environmental Protection, ANPE, by improving waste management practices and teaching the local population about the value of environmental protection. This initiative seeks to mitigate the effects of environmental deterioration on the Bay of Algiers. Rehabilitation project of former phosphate quarries in Debelonc, led by the National Agency for Hydraulic Resources, ANRH. This initiative aims to restore Debelonc regions affected by phosphate mining. Creation of the Biosphere Reserve of the Saharan Atlas. Establishing the Saharan Atlas Biosphere Reserve is the project's goal, proving that it is dedicated to preserving the unique natural features of this area. These are only a few instances of the many actions Algerian authorities have done to address environmental challenges and encourage eco-friendly behavior in many fields.